"Please, don't kick me. I'm already hurt," cried the waitress. Then Undercover CEO did this. The rain was coming down hard that night. The streets shimmered under the yellow glow of the city lamps, and the small diner at the corner of Maple Street looked like a lonely shelter for the broken. Inside, a young waitress with tired eyes and trembling hands wiped the same counter for the 10th time, pretending to be busy. Her name was Emily, and her heart was breaking quietly behind that forced smile she wore for every customer. Her apron was stained, her shoes were worn out, and her life had become a routine of exhaustion, pain, and silent tears. But that night, fate had something else planned. Just as the clock struck 9, a group of loud, arrogant men entered the diner. Their voices echoed like thunder, laughing, shouting, throwing their coats across the booth. They ordered rudely, snapping fingers and tossing insults disguised as jokes. Emily tried to remain calm, her soft, "Yes, sir," trembling through her lips as she took their order. But the moment she accidentally spilled a few drops of coffee while serving, one of the men kicked her tray away. The crash echoed through the diner, and coffee splattered across the floor. The whole place fell silent. Emily froze, her eyes wide with fear and shame. Then came the words that broke her, "Please, don't kick me. I'm already hurt." Her voice cracked, soft but raw, echoing across the cold tiles of the diner floor. The customers stared in silence. But one man sitting quietly in the corner slowly stood up. He wore a simple hoodie, looked like an ordinary traveler, and had been sitting there for over an hour, quietly observing everything. No one knew that man was Ethan Reed, the CEO of a global restaurant chain, a man who had built his empire from scratch but disguised himself often to see the real world through ordinary eyes. He had come to that small diner that night, not to eat, but to remember who he was before the fame, before the wealth. And what he saw broke something inside him. Backhand index pointing right before we continue. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Tales. Your support helps us share more real, emotional stories that touch hearts and inspire change. Red Heart. Ethan slowly walked toward the scene. The rude customer still smirked, his shoe inches away from Emily's trembling hand as she tried to clean up the mess. Ethan's voice was calm but carried an unshakable weight when he said, "That's enough." The room went still again. The man laughed mockingly, "Who are you, her hero?" But Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he crouched down next to Emily and helped her pick up the broken pieces of the cup. "You don't have to pick up what others break," he said quietly, his voice low enough for only her to hear. Her tears fell freely now, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel invisible. Ethan turned to the men and said something that silenced even their arrogance. "You see that woman? She's stronger than all of you combined. Because even after everything, she still gets up every day to survive. What do you do? Tear others down to feel powerful?" The men, embarrassed and uncomfortable, threw a few bills on the table and stormed out, muttering curses under their breath. The diner fell into a heavy, stunned silence. Emily's manager, a tired old man who usually looked the other way to avoid trouble, finally approached and apologized softly. But Ethan didn't stop there. He paid for everyone's meal that night, left a generous tip on the counter, and told Emily to take a break. When she hesitated, he simply smiled and said, "Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to rest." That night, after closing time, Emily sat alone at one of the corner tables. The rain had stopped, but tears still rolled down her cheeks. She wasn't crying just from the humiliation, she was crying because someone, finally, had stood up for her. Someone had seen her pain. That moment was the first flicker of hope she had felt in years. She didn't know who that man really was, and he didn't tell her. He left quietly, just as he had come. But Ethan couldn't forget her. The next morning, in his corporate office high above the city skyline, Ethan called his assistant and said, "Find out who manages the Maple Street diner." When he learned the place was on the verge of bankruptcy, he made an unexpected decision, to buy it anonymously. But not to shut it down. To rebuild it. Days later, the diner closed for renovation. Emily thought she had lost her only job. She had no savings, no family, and nowhere to go. But before she left, the manager handed her an envelope with her name on it. Inside was a note that said, "Every good heart deserves a new beginning. Report to the new location on Monday." There was no signature, just the logo of a restaurant chain she had only seen on TV, Reed's Table. When Emily arrived that Monday, her eyes widened. The new restaurant was modern, bright, and full of warmth. And there he was, Ethan, standing with that same gentle smile. "Welcome to your new workplace," he said. "Or should I say, your new beginning." Emily couldn't believe it. He offered her not just a job, but a chance to lead, as the manager of the new branch. "I saw something in you that night," Ethan told her softly. "Strength. Dignity. The kind that doesn't fade even when life keeps hitting you." Emily's journey from that broken diner to a respected manager wasn't easy. She worked hard, learned, stumbled, and rose again. But she never forgot that night, or the man who believed in her when she couldn't even believe in herself. Years later, the same diner chain expanded across the country, with a special foundation under it, helping single mothers, waitresses, and struggling workers start new lives. And the first donation came from Emily herself. She had promised to give back, the same way someone had once given her hope. Ethan and Emily stayed connected, not as CEO and employee, but as two souls who had once met in the middle of a storm. Whenever she felt tired or broken, she remembered his words, "You don't have to pick up what others break." And one night, while speaking at an event for young women, Emily shared her story. When she reached the part where she said, "Please, don't kick me. I'm already hurt," the whole room went silent. And then she smiled, her eyes glistening as she added, "But sometimes, it takes one kind stranger to show you that you were never weak, just waiting to heal." The audience stood and clapped for minutes. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please don't leave without showing your love. Hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to Kindness Tales for more stories that remind us humanity still exists. And tell us in the comments below, have you ever had a stranger's kindness change your life? Speech balloon. Because sometimes, one moment of compassion can heal 1,000 silent wounds.